Imagine being so good at fighting the Nazis that they put a 5 million franc bounty on your head. This is Nancy Wake, spy, resistance fighter, smuggler and saboteur. A woman the Gestapo called the White Mouse, because she was impossible to catch. And yet, most people have no idea who she was. So, let me tell you her story.
There was a war on and I had to do my part, and my family and my friends. And I got mixed up in the war. So I got away with it. I got away with murder.
Nancy Wake was born in New Zealand, raised in Australia, and by her 20s she was living in Paris as a journalist. Drinking cocktails, writing dispatches, living that 1930s life. But then, the Nazis came.
She saw fascism up close and she hated it. So when France fell, Nancy didn't run, but she joined the French resistance.
First of all, I was in the resistance, and then I got into the regulars, and I went on from there. I mean, it was a war and I had to fight it, or help to fight it, I should say.
She worked as a courier for the French resistance, slipping across borders and through Nazi checkpoints with forged papers and nerves of steel. She smuggled messages, stockpiled weapons, and even helped evacuate fugitives and Allied airmen, all under the noses of the Gestapo.
She became so skilled at evading capture that the Germans gave her a nickname, the White Mouse. Always one step ahead, always slipping through their fingers.
And of course the Germans did some things that we didn't like, and we had to sort of take our revenge.
Nancy also had a sense of humor and would humiliate the Germans in her own way.
I was a bit deceptive as far as the Germans are concerned. If I met a German and I'd say, "Oh, you're a German, are you?" And he'd say, "Yes." I said, "Oh, no." And he'd look at me and think, "Well, she's a good-looking broad." And he'd ask to see me and I'd give him a date. Well, of course, I'd never turn up. And that's how I get on. I was a flirt. I was a deceptive flirt. They didn't know what I was doing, but I was doing it all underground. But I never was afraid.
But by 1943, the Gestapo was closing in. They arrested thousands of resistance members. And what did Nancy do? Nancy fled across the Pyrenees on foot, all the way towards Spain.
From here she made it to Britain, and here is where the story really takes off.
In Britain, Nancy joined the Special Operations Executive, the SOE. This was Britain's top secret spy agency, created to set Europe ablaze, as Churchill put it himself.
And then he said to me, "And I want you to do something else as well. I want you to be responsible for ungentlemanly warfare, for using all means, secret and underground means against the enemy, to break his will to resist." Then he took me by the hand and he said, "Now go," he said, "and set Europe ablaze."
They trained Nancy in sabotage, combat, explosives, and they then parachuted her back into France in the dead of the night. In France, Nancy coordinated thousands of resistance fighters, blowing up trains, cutting supply lines, and ambushing German patrols. During a critical resistance operation, their only radio was destroyed, cutting off all communication with London. That meant no way to request supplies, reinforcements, or intel. Their only hope a contact hundreds of kilometers away in the south of France. But reaching him wasn't simple.
Military-aged men couldn't travel. The Nazi checkpoints made that almost a death sentence. The roads were crawling with patrols, and escape routes were dangerous, if not impossible.
And that's when Nancy Wake stepped forward. "I'll do it," she said.
She mounted a bicycle and rode 500 kilometers in just 72 hours through Nazi-occupied territory. No protection, no backup, just a single mission. Deliver that message and reconnect the resistance with the outside world. And she did it.
In retrospect, that was really one of the bravest things I ever, well, not brave, but funny things I ever did during the war. I bicycled over 250 miles, non-stop.
The Germans did not think twice when they saw her ride her bicycle. She looked like just a normal housewife going about her daily work. After the war, she often joked that she flirted with the Germans during her journey to let her through the checkpoints.
I knew how to inspire a man, and you wouldn't believe it now, but I was good looking in those days. And I arrived back, and the troops are there to greet me, and all I could do was to sit down and cry. Sit down and cry, that's all I could do, and I thought, well, thank God.
She was known for her toughness. If men wouldn't follow orders, she'd slap them until they did. She also once led an assault on a Gestapo office, resulting in the death of 38 Germans. And on top of that, she killed an SS officer with her bare hands to keep him from alerting the others. The French resistance called her a legend. The Nazis just wanted her dead. When the war ended, Nancy was one of the Allies' most decorated women. She received the George Medal from Britain, the Medal of Freedom from the US, and the Croix de Guerre from France.
Nancy lived to be 98 years old. She never considered herself a hero. She even once said, quote, "I hate wars and violence, but if they come, then I don't see why we women should just wave our men a proud goodbye and then knit them balaclavas."
Nancy Wake was a fighter, a spy, and a force behind enemy lines. History often highlights generals, soldiers, and politicians, mostly men, but stories like hers remind us that impact doesn't always come from the center of power. It also comes from the resistance behind enemy lines.
I could say, it sounds awful to say it, but I had a wonderful war. A wonderful war. And to think that I came out and now I'm 92, I look back and I think, my God, I wonder how I did it, but I did it.